Are the Warriors about to make a bold move that could reshape their season? With injury news shaking up the trade landscape, Golden State is focusing on a player who could elevate their championship aspirations. As the deadline approaches, fans are wondering who could next don the blue and gold. Stay tuned as we dive into the latest updates and what they mean for our beloved Warriors. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like to stay updated on everything Warriors. The latest twist for the Golden State Warriors has brought a series of news that could significantly alter their trade strategy as we approach the deadline. As you know, the Warriors have been inconsistent recently, and with their championship aspirations on the line, they have been strongly linked to a possible acquisition of an all-star. Names like Jimmy Butler and Brandon Ingram have been at the center of these discussions, but a recent development has narrowed the focus. Brandon Ingram, who was averaging 22.2 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 5.2 assists this season, suffered a significant ankle injury during a game against the Oklahoma City Thunder. He was seen limping off the court, and reports confirm that he will be out indefinitely. This news casts a shadow over his trade value and complicates the Warriors' plans. With the New Orleans Pelicans already dealing with a series of injuries to key players like Zion Williamson and C.J. McCollum, Ingram was seen as an ideal candidate for a mid-season move. But now, with his future uncertain, the Warriors are facing a difficult decision. For Golden State, this injury news drastically changes their priorities. They are likely to pivot toward acquiring an immediate impact player who can help the team get out of this rough patch and strengthen their playoff chances. The question now is whether they lean towards a play for someone like Jimmy Butler, who has playoff experience and the strength to carry this team when it matters. This is where the situation becomes interesting. Butler brings not only skill, but also a tenacity that could ignite the locker room. The Warriors have been seeking that spark, and with Ingram off the board, Butler becomes the most logical option? I'm really intrigued by this possibility, but I can't help but feel divided. On one hand, Butler could be the key to unlocking the Warriors' full potential, but on the other hand, that brings the risk of chemistry issues and the cost of assets that could shape the future of the franchise. And don't forget about the Pelicans. Losing Ingram is a devastating blow for them and likely signals the end of their season as they scramble to regroup. They relied on him to be the foundation, and without him, their chances of escaping the lower tier of the rankings look grim. This could be an opportunity for the Warriors to capitalize on a team desperate to offload talent in a rebuilding process. But I want to hear from you. Do you think shifting focus to a player like Butler is the best decision for the Warriors? Personally, I'm torn. Yes, Butler could be a true game changer, but at what cost are we willing to give up key pieces of our roster for a player who may not guarantee us a championship? The Golden State Warriors find themselves at a crucial crossroads after a promising 12-3 start. The recent slide, losing 6 of their last 7 games, raises significant questions about the team's trajectory. It is a stark reminder that in the NBA, momentum can change in the blink of an eye, and for the Warriors it seems they missed an opportunity to make a significant roster change. Looking to the offseason, the Warriors were in search of stars like Paul George and Lauri Markkanen. Many of us believed that securing one of these players could propel our championship aspirations. However, as we now know, the Warriors came away empty-handed. What went wrong? It's hard to say for sure. Perhaps the Clippers were hesitant to trade PG within the Western Conference, or maybe the Warriors weren't fully committed in negotiations with Markkanen. Regardless of the reasons, it is clear that these missed opportunities could haunt us as we approach the trade deadline. As the NBA trade deadline approaches, the question on every fan's mind is whether the Warriors can make a move that could rewrite the story of the season. Unfortunately, the reality is that options may be limited. The organization seems hesitant to part with promising young talents like Podziemski, which complicates the situation even further. While there are conversations about trading Andrew Wiggins or possibly moving DeAnthony Melton's contract, the return from these moves may not be as impactful as we hope. Let's be honest, the players we may be willing to trade, like Moses Moody, don't exactly scream difference makers when it comes to attracting other teams. We have some draft capital, but that alone may not be enough to bring in a game-changing player. This raises a troubling thought. Could we be waiting until the next offseason to make our big move? Or worse, what if nothing comes together? It is a frustrating place to be as a fan, and I know I'm not alone in this feeling of tension every time I think about the missed opportunities earlier in the year. As we prepare for the trade deadline, it's hard not to feel torn about what to do. The Warriors have a solid base of young talent that could form the core of the future, but with the current team's performance and the need for an immediate playoff impact, the temptation to make a significant trade is strong. Acquiring a player like Jimmy Butler would not only elevate the Warriors' competitive level, but also bring a foundation of leadership and experience in crucial moments. His ability to take control in big games would be invaluable, especially in a playoff scenario. However, trading for Butler does not come without risks. The cost in terms of assets like draft picks and young players would be significant, and with the need to maintain positive chemistry within the roster, the introduction of a player with a strong personality like Butler could cause some friction. This brings us back to the conversation about Brandon Ingram. Before his injury, he seemed like the ideal player for the Warriors. His versatility, scoring ability, and playmaking were exactly what the team needed to get out of the hole they find themselves in. Ingram also offered a unique mix of youth and experience, something the Warriors have been searching for since they became a championship team. Ingram's injury not only complicates the Warriors' trade plans, but also presents a challenge for the Pelicans, who now have to find a new direction without one of their key players. This creates an interesting dynamic in the trade market where Ingram's value may have decreased significantly, making him a more accessible target for other teams, including the Warriors. When considering the available options, the reality for the Warriors seems to be choosing between making a big move for a player like Jimmy Butler or keeping the focus on developing their young core. There is merit in both strategies, but time is running out. The trade deadline is fast approaching, and with the team's current slump, it's clear the Warriors can't continue to bet all their chips on developing young players. The urgency is palpable. As the season progresses, the Warriors need a quick solution that can directly impact their title chances. Butler's experience is appealing, but does it justify the risk of destabilizing the locker room and potentially mortgaging the future to try and secure a title now? At this point, it's important to look at the Warriors' past moves. Over the last few years, the front office's focus has been on maintaining the franchise's financial health and long-term stability, prioritizing the retention of young talents like James Wiseman, Moses Moody, and Jonathan Kuminga. These choices, while promising, haven't provided the immediate impact needed to keep the Warriors at the top of the Western Conference. Now, the need for a player ready for a championship becomes more evident than ever. Ingram's loss and the team's performance decline put pressure on the Warriors to act quickly and decisively. The question is not just who they can get, but who they're willing to sacrifice to do so. With this in mind, a possible approach for the Warriors would be to involve some of their less central pieces, like Moses Moody and even James Wiseman, in a package for a more experienced player like Butler. This trade not only provides a talent upgrade, but also frees up the roster so Coach Steve Kerr can build a more cohesive unit. Trading for Butler could also be a marketing play, sending a clear signal that the Warriors are committed to staying competitive while still developing young players. The risk, of course, is losing depth and roster flexibility. The ability to adjust the roster for the playoffs could be compromised if all assets are directed toward a trade for a single player. As the Warriors prepare for the trade deadline, the sense of urgency grows. The recent decline in performance, combined with injuries affecting several of their key players, has not only exposed the team's lack of depth, but also highlighted the need for an immediate adjustment. The Warriors are no longer just a team of developing young talents. They are a championship contender, and as such, they need to act accordingly. The decision to acquire someone like Butler is not just a matter of talent. It's about positioning themselves as a playoff threat and a championship contender. With Ingram out of the picture and the Warriors facing a tight game schedule, the window of opportunity to make a significant trade is closing rapidly. However, there are those who argue that a move for Butler is not the ideal answer for the Warriors. Chemistry is a real concern, and with young talents like Poole, Kuminga, and Wiseman in the mix, there is a fear that adding a player with a strong personality like Butler could disrupt the locker room. Moreover, the cost of such a trade could be too high. The franchise's financial situation is more balanced than ever, and any move toward Butler would require a significant commitment of assets. The alternative would be to continue on the path of youth development, exploring other market options like Malik Beasley or DeAndre Hunter, who could provide similar impact without the high cost. Whether opting for a smaller trade or continuing to focus on youth development, the Warriors could aim to add an experienced shooter or an elite defender who can complement the existing core without disrupting the roster chemistry. This would allow young players like Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga to grow with more freedom within the team's tactical structure. The Warriors' season is far from over, and any move they make now will need to be carefully considered to ensure they don't compromise the franchise's future while trying to achieve immediate success. The conversation about the trade deadline isn't just about what the Warriors can gain, but also what they could lose. Many believe that making a big trade for an immediate impact player like Jimmy Butler could be risky. Beyond the cost in terms of assets, there's the challenge of integrating a new player into an already established roster. Team chemistry is a precious commodity, and with the current dynamics, it cannot be underestimated. Butler, with his leadership and ability to step up in crucial moments, would be an important addition. However, could this disrupt the development of young players who still need time to mature? On the other hand, there's the argument that a smaller trade for a player like Malik Beasley or DeAndre Hunter could provide a positive impact without drastically shifting the roster balance. These players are versatile and can fit well into a system like the Warriors. Beasley, for example, brings excellent three-point shooting, something the Warriors have missed at times during the season. Hunter, on the other hand, is a solid defender who could help protect the team's perimeter. These alternatives represent a balance between short-term and long-term goals, allowing the Warriors to continue developing young talent while preparing a competitive team for the playoffs. Looking to the future, the Warriors must also consider how these decisions will impact their salary cap and financial flexibility. Trading for Butler or a high-caliber player could mean sacrificing cap space for other important moves in 2025 and beyond. Franchise financial management is crucial, especially after big contract payments to players like Curry, Thompson, and Green. Any major addition to the roster needs to be strategic to avoid compromising the ability to renew key contracts in the future. The pressure to compete now is strong, but the Warriors must also think about what comes next. Ultimately, the decision to make a significant trade or not will depend on what the front office believes is best for the long-term future of the franchise. Success now cannot come at the cost of an uncertain future. The Warriors have a great opportunity to use the trade deadline to solidify their position as a dominant force in the league, but the price may be too high. Continuing to develop young talent while remaining competitive may be the wiser path forward. Patience will be key, but action is also necessary when circumstances demand it. Fan expectations are another factor to consider. High expectations have always followed the Warriors, especially since consecutive titles in 2017 and 2018. Fans want to see moves that demonstrate the franchise is committed to immediate success. This may mean a trade for Butler or a smaller change for a player who can contribute right away. The clock is ticking to find that answer. The window of opportunity does not last forever, and the Warriors need to make a decision quickly that could shape the course of the season and potentially the future of the franchise. As the trade deadline approaches rapidly, the Warriors are at a crossroads. Should they continue to develop their young core and accept that this is a transitional year, or risk it all with a big trade that may or may not solve all their problems? The answer isn't clear, and the consequences of any move will be felt for years. The important thing now is to have a well-defined strategy, whichever path is chosen. Fans should pay close attention to the negotiations in the coming days, because that's where the future of the Warriors could be shaped. In the end, the decision the Warriors make at the trade deadline will reflect their vision for the future. The pursuit of a title now cannot come at the cost of compromising the long-term future of the franchise. The key will be finding the right balance between current needs and the ongoing development of their young talents. Regardless of what happens, the Warriors will continue to be one of the most closely watched franchises in the NBA. Their next move will determine if they can continue their trajectory of success or face a more challenging period of rebuilding than expected. So, fans, what's your opinion? Leave your comment down below about what you think the Warriors should do at the trade deadline. Your opinion could make a difference in the team's decisions. If you want to stay updated with everything about the Warriors and much more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any updates. Let's closely follow this season that promises to be a roller coaster of emotions.